Today I'm going to be showing you how I make this flower bowl. I will be showing you my step-by-step process to create this up until the biscuit fire stage. I'll be doing another video where I include my glazing techniques, and I hope that you enjoy it and I hope that you will give it a go. So the clay that I'm using here is from Laguna, and it is a paper clay, which is, I find, a lot easier for sculpting large bowls and creations. So it's a really nice clay to work with. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to slice off some to make my bowl. I need quite a bit of clay because I'm making quite a large flower bowl here. So we're going to do the usual wedging. I'm working this clay. The paper clay has a different texture to your normal clay. You can feel the paper in it. I'm going to whack it. Okay, so you've wedged your clay and you've given it a good whack, which is a good way for you to get all your frustrations out for the day. What I'm doing now is just patting it into a nice ball shape before I roll it out. So I don't have a slab roller, I just use a piece of wood that I brought from one of the hardware stores, and it's a good nice wide shape for this. I flip and roll as I push this out. Because this is quite a heavy clay, it's not a very soft clay. You've got to use the firm pressure and really try and keep that nice and even. So change direction so that you're going to be pushing your clay out. So I think that this is maybe 1/4 inch thick. So what I use now is just a little scraper, which you use for paint or plaster, and you can buy these from a hardware store. This is how I like to push down, applying downward pressure, smoothing across my clay. And what this does is helps to compress the clay so that you're getting any bubbles out, you're making it nice and smooth and even. We're going to flip it. You'll have a lovely flat surface forming here, and I'm pushing down gently, smoothing out that clay. For this bowl, I am using a 30 centimetre wide slump mould. I'm going to lay my pot down, my clay, and what you want to do is just very gently let it slump into this mould. So I'm just going to get those folds in there. So I'm going to be cutting this excess off with a knife. So I've got a nice fit on this slump. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to be cutting. I'm just cutting those little excess pieces off. So these are like darts in dressmaking. You just want to remove all the extra clay. This is just my technique. It's not necessarily the right technique. You've probably got a lot of potters out there that will be going, what is she doing? But this works for me. and I think it's quite a simple form. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to smooth those joins out. Keep your pot nice and connected on the side. And I'm pushing quite firmly against the wall. That's the beauty of the slump molds, is you can actually push into it and you'll keep the form while you're doing all of this repair work. So I'm just going around, adding some extra clay on here, just filling in those little gaps. And this clay, being the paper clay, it connects beautifully together. So we're just going to fill that in, take that off excess there. So once you've got all of that joined, I'm taking my little curve tool and we're just going to be smoothing that round, smoothing it from the base, and I'm pushing down and smoothing it as we go round. And this is trying to make it all the same thickness. I'll take my little knife. I'm just going to run this around the rim. When you cut it off, you can start to see the thickness, and this is how you can judge if you can see if the thickness is even all the way around and how thick you want your piece. Alright, so we've got it, it's a little bit thicker here where I've added the extra clay, so what we're going to do is just push and smooth that out and push it out, and that's going to come up till we get a nice even thickness around the outside of this bowl. All right, so now I have set up my bowl. I'm just going to get my sponge tool now, and I'm just going to soften off and tidy up these edges. So you don't want to add too much water. You want to make sure that your sponge is nice and just wet and ringed out, and you're just going to go. And once again, I'm pushing down, I'm wiping, and I'm getting a nice smooth finish. Stage one of our flower bowl. So what I do now is I'm just going to put this outside in some sunshine, and I'm going to let this set up, which means I'm just going to let it come away from the walls as it dries a little bit in here, and then we'll be able to start building some of our leaves and shapes in it. Okay, so I've just let this set up for a little while, just to let the clay lose a little tiny bit of moisture in there, and what I'm going to do now is show how I start to create my flower design. You don't need too much clay for this. Once again, I'm just going to pack it into a little circle so that it's nice and round. Take a smaller rolling pin. So I'm not making this too thick. It's nice and relatively thin, but still thick enough that you can work with it. So I'm going to use my scraping tool again, and we're just going to smooth that off. Flipping it over, smoothing it, pushing down and just smoothing. Take my cookie cutter and cut that shape out. And then I'm going to be doing a smaller one just for the next size down. Take this away. So I'm just taking my little knife tool and I'm just going to cut little petals out. So you can make any kind of shape flower that you want to. This is just the heart of the flower. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. My clay is very, very soft. And I'm just going to pinch and flatten each of these little petals. So I'm just taking an extra little board that I'm just going to sit that on. And I'm going to be taking this one off and doing the same. So we're squashing, flattening, squashing. Okay, and that is going in there. I'm just going to put them to the side. Just going to wet the base here a little bit. I'm just going to score it. I've got my big flower petals. What I'm going to do is turn it over to the underside. I'm going to be wetting my petals. And give that a wee bit of a score as well. You can use, sometimes I'll use a slip to put on the underside just to help this stick down. So what we want to do is flip that over and place that as much as you can into the center. Just push that down. And then your little petals, it's quite good if you can rearrange them into little, just so that they look a bit more natural. What I want to do is, starting on the inside, is I'm just going to be pulling that out across my petals. So you can push it in as much as you want to. We're going to use our little scoring tool. We're just going to score in here, just so that the flower connects. Taking my second little flower petals, going to wet it underneath and give it a bit of a score as well. And like I said, sometimes I'll use slip on here. We want to put that in the middle of this flower. Yeah. And once again, I'm taking this tool and I'm going to be pushing those down. So now that I've got my centerpiece in here, I'm just going to take quite a soft, small brush. I'm going to wet it a little bit, and I'm just going to tidy up some of those little edges. And just dip it back into the water, and you're just going to keep shaping your flowers until you're really happy with how it is. And the brush, you're dipping it in onto a wet sponge or into water. Got my little ball, pushing it down a little bit, compressing that. just going to take this tool here and I'm just going to score in the middle down here and score on the back of here. Just apply a little bit of moisture there. Pop that on the middle. Then what I like to use is, I've got this pin tool and it has a really nice little bottom on the stick, which I'm going to be using. The bottom of this tool is a really good size shape. What I'm going to do is use my pencil first, and I'm just going to just draw a basic outline of how I want my petals to look. And I'm just doing a thin line so that if I don't like it, I can do something else. So some of my petals I want to sit behind other petals, so we're going to come round, going to go up here, around there, so what I want to do now is I'm going to take my knife tool and I am going to cut some of these shapes out. You can, at this stage, we're just taking the basic shape off. We're going to refine that shape later on. So this is just to give you, take my sponge and just soften off those edges. So we're just smoothing them down so that they're not so rigid. And we will, once we remove this from the mold, we'll be fine-tuning it. So I want to put a raised edge here and a raised edge here so that it shows these two leaves being in front of that leaf. Just going to wet this edge and wet this edge. Just smooth that off. So I'm going to follow this line down here so that we have a nice curve, and I've rolled out a little skinny piece of clay. Just going to break that off at the bottom, and then I'm just going to take my thumb and flatten it, push it, push it, flatten it, and we're spreading it out. Just smoothing it out, joining it up here, smoothing that. And now you can see we've got this beautiful raised looking leaf. I'm going to do the same on the other side, following the line of my leaf. So I'm going to pop that over that line. Then using my thumb, I'm just pushing it, smoothing it, pushing it down. If you don't like using your thumb, you can use one of these tools. Just carefully smooth out the inner edge. We don't want to lose that beautiful leaf shape. I'm just pushing it out at the top. So as you can see now, we've got two leaves that appear to be on the inside. We're just going to work my way around. I'm going to do the same here and the same here. So I'm just going to be adding some little bits of texture into the bottom of my flowers, because I want to show that the flowers have got shape and form. So all I do is just roll out some skinny bits of clay, pop them on, make sure that your little leaves are a little bit wet. So we're just sponging. Not too wet, but enough that we can work with the clay on here. Use the thumb tool for this as well if you find it too tricky. My fingernails are just a little bit too long. Now I'll just use my sponge. I can do this so that you can see. I'm just softening that so that it looks like it's part of the flower. Alright, so I've had my little flower bowl setting up outside. It's really heavy. Setting up outside in the sun and the breeze for about an hour, just so that it's come away from the plaster mould. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to release it from the mould and then show you how I create the outside of this flower bowl. So firstly, you want to put a board over the top. It's very heavy, this mould. I'm looking a bit awkward here. Well, this is a very heavy mould. So we carefully take that off. There we've got a beautiful smooth finish on this on the inside, and it's because we've compressed it and pushed it against the outer walls of the mould. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be putting my little stamp on the base of this pot, very gently on there. Then just going to take that, pop that on there. And we're going to flip it. And what I want to do now is create a flat base. So all you need to do is just gently drop it. You don't want to throw it down too hard, but this way we've just softened out the base of the pot. And then I'm just blending that in, pushing it down, blending it in. And you can use your little thumb tool as well if you find it easier. Normally I would do this on my little turntable, but I wouldn't be able to show you how it looks, so this is looking a little bit awkward, but you would do this on a turntable. Just wetting that side down. Your sponge, give it a nice smooth down because you want this to look nice and soft like a flower petal. So we've got all of our petals on there. What I want to do now is we're going to tidy up these top edges because we want them to look nice and natural and soft, like a nice soft curve. Let's make sure that's sitting up nice. And this is where you might bend it and shape it so it's a wee bit more like a natural flower petal. So I like to just change the directions just to create that, and squeezing it together. And just giving it a little bit of a form. And then I'm using my sponge and I'm just going to completely soften those edges and take away anything that doesn't look natural. Fix up those joins. I'm just pushing with my sponge tool. So I'm using that just to make a really nice edge. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to be putting some more hand building and firing and glazing techniques on my channel soon. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to see where people are creating around the world. I'm in the bottom of New Zealand and it's winter here. It's a great time to be creating in my studio. So I look forward to seeing what you've been making. Happy potting!